As global partners, we can promote prosperity in both our countries. Together, we can create the high-tech, high-wage jobs of the future.
It looks like another world almost. There's been so much happening on the economic front in the United States of America and in India itself.
The first decade of this century was spent in building the new India-United States relationship, addressing the constraints of the past and laying the foundation for the future. President Barack Obama's visit in November 2010 sustained an unprecedented level of bilateral engagement. Yet, in both countries, questions are being raised about the state and the direction of our relationship.
Indo-US relations are going through a strange phase when neither the United States of America nor India are actually shaping world events. The world events are shaping and conditioning all relationships, including the Indo-US relations. And therefore, to predict anything about the future would be premature, except that a solid relationship is not going to be thrown off gear in a hurry.
IT entrepreneurs like Raj Jaswa, one of many stunning Indian success stories in America, are anxious about protectionist trends in the US, especially in the IT industry that has been the bridge between the two economies so far. A graduate of Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, he arrived in the US in 1977. Few years later, he set up OPTI, his first startup.
We started providing chipsets so that people could build personal computers and notebooks across the world. We took off like a rocket. In 4 years, we had over 100 million in sales. We went public, built a public company. By 1994, 1 in every 4 computers used the Opti chipset to build a personal computer.
From the 1990s onwards, Indian origin entrepreneurs, scientists, and IT engineers have revolutionized our world with high-tech innovations, creating an estimated $200 billion of wealth in the US.
India was my strategic weapon, competitive strategic weapon, because they were high-quality engineers, they were cost-effective, and I could pretty much have the ability to deploy them as I needed to get projects done very cost-effectively and very rapidly.
Indian industry has invested $26.5 billion, or 1,178 crores in the US from 2004 to 2009, resulting in the direct creation of more than 100,000 jobs and indirectly supporting 200,000 other jobs, apart from enhancing the competitiveness of some US industries.
Once you've worked in a multicultural environment, it's hard to worry about that too much, because you find that everyone is very similar. Everyone is working towards the same goals. Everyone has the same desires. And really, I think we're looking at a 21st century that is a global century.
Most Indian companies like Wipro and TCS have set up development centers in the United States, primarily based on local hires. Indian IT industry contributed $15 billion in taxes over the last 5 years.
We are well on our way to create that vision that we have, is to create a Bangalore in Atlanta. That really is our dream, and that really is our vision.
We have about 19,000 associates working across the nation. 50% of our revenues comes from North America. So that's about $4 billion. Let's look at again our Midland Delivery Center in Michigan. We have created more than 300 jobs, again just in last 12 months.
The issue of outsourcing has often generated heated rhetoric statements on Capitol Hill. The Indian industry is deeply concerned with the emerging signs of a non-tariff barrier protectionist policy in the United States because of its current economic challenges. Indian IT sector's success story in the United States should not be set back by stringent visa regulations for those target groups who have been votaries of strong India-US relations.
We wouldn't be here today if we didn't have our India office that helped us get through that tough time to remain globally competitive and innovative. And now we're 800 employees, and now we've created an additional 350 jobs here in the US, and 175 of them has been the last 2 years during this recession.
We are a leader in science and technology, and countries like India have provided valuable supply and talent to keep America at the forefront of the technological revolution.
Now they can start their companies as well in India as they can in America. So American leaders have to decide, do they want the jobs to be created in India or do they want them to be created over here? If we don't fix American policy, it's going to be a big loss for this country.
The 2.7 million strong Indian American community has helped enormously in building a transformative India-US relationship, which began 2 decades ago with the end of Cold War and opening up the Indian economy. Indian entrepreneurs in the US, like Vinod Dham, the creator of the Pentium chip, are a bridge between the two countries.
What is a unique value proposition that India has today? Well, the unique value proposition India has is it has 1.3 billion people, a large talent pool, which is English speaking, and well educated in science and technology. And what US has is an enormously innovative culture, an infrastructure which provides the necessary fuel for providing venture capital, access to higher learning institutes, providing research in science and technology, and a very efficient way of conducting business.
It was here in Intel where Dham invented the Pentium chip and ended up building a lot of products and technologies. Indian Americans and their enterprises contribute billions of dollars by way of wages and taxes, stimulating and enriching the US economy.
More importantly, I think if you look at Silicon Valley, for example, which is the hotbed of innovation in this country, by some measures they say 40–50% of the top-level executives or CXOs, as they call them, are from Indian background. Now, if you analyze these people, who they are, and I was one of them for many years in multiple different capacities, they're not necessarily the brightest in terms of their pure understanding of science, but they have that combination of that plus the street smart that they learn when they grow up in a country of 1 billion people.
India imports almost $40 billion worth of goods and services. It is also natural that as the Indian economy continues to grow and modernize, as the US economy recovers its momentum, and as the global economic situation improves, trade and investment relations will surge to higher levels. At the moment, however, in the United States, there are worries about the commercial implementation of the Civil Nuclear Agreement.
The Civilian Nuclear Accord was very important, and it was important not just because of the technical matters related to, the export of nuclear equipment and so forth to India, although that is important, but it was symbolic, and it required a hugely heavy diplomatic lift on the American side to get the Nuclear Suppliers Group to agree, to get the IAEA to agree, and to make a carve-out for India in US law. Those were big things, those were big hurdles, and the fact that the United States felt that it had a close enough partnership with India and a much potential in the future that this would pay off says a lot about the way that Americans are seeing this relationship. So it was a very big deal.
Terrorism remains a major security challenge for India and the United States. Their understanding on the source and the nature of the threat emanating from India's neighborhood has never been greater. Leaders and policymakers in the US were stunned by the 26/11 terrorist attack on Mumbai by the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
We'll never forget the awful images of 26/11. including the flames from this hotel that lit up the night sky. We'll never forget how the world, including the American people, watched and grieved with all of India.
Washington and New Delhi have set up a strong counter-terrorism initiative. In May 2011, both countries engaged in the first Homeland Security Dialogue. U.S. Secretary for Homeland Security Janet Napolitano and the Indian Minister for Home Affairs P. Chidambaram agreed to establish a close counter-terrorism cooperation.
Well, I think the ongoing trials of David Headley and Tawahir Rana that have been occurring in Chicago definitely show the links between Pakistani intelligence and terrorist groups. Now, U.S. officials have long been aware of these links, but I think what these trials have done is they've brought these links to the attention of the American public.
I think that the United States and India share something in common. We both have very difficult relations with Pakistan, but we also both need Pakistan to be a stable, peaceful, and hopefully one day prosperous country.
New Delhi and Washington have also stepped up defense trade, which has gone from negligible levels a few years ago to a cumulative value of $9 billion in the last 4 to 5 years, and is set to expand further, with India expected to spend nearly $45 billion on military modernization. The U.S. is looking at opportunities to further deepen its defense cooperation with India.
Well, certainly the foundation for any strategic relationship is a strong military-to-military relationship, and this includes joint training, defense trade, and this $4 billion Boeing deal.
Defense, space, nuclear, economic relations, and particularly the last one cannot but be untouched by the downward spiral in the global economic picture.
President Obama's speech in the Indian Parliament on November 8, 2010 demonstrated how far Washington was willing to reach out to forge a global partnership with India.
We welcome India as it prepares to take its seat on the United Nations Security Council. In short, with India assuming its rightful place in the world, we have a historic opportunity to make the relationship between our two countries a defining partnership of the century ahead.
India's relationship with the United States is one of growing comfort, depth, and candor, if not perfect harmony. Even though India and United States have differing perspectives, both see value in strengthening and expanding the long-term strategic framework of the bilateral relationship. And both can have a considerable impact on the shape of the world in the 21st century.
As two leading democracies, India and the United States must play a leading role in building a shared destiny for all humankind.